Are you a rich dad or are you a poor dad, Nathan Gray?
Boy, it depends on the currency you're trying to add up there.
Ooh, but we'll dig into rich dad, poor dad, and the 10 steps to becoming a financial genius and building a financially literate legacy in your family.
Let's jump in.
Mama says namaste. Mama says namaste.
Making a family can be easy and fun.
Oh yeah, but raising a family can be a whole different story.
From spouses to kids to the crazy daily grind, life often directs us away from connection and more into reactive chaos.
If you're tired of that cycle and are seeking something beyond the picket fence blues, this is the show for you.
I'm Ashley.
And I'm Nathan.
And we're here to take you from chaos to clarity by bringing awareness and intention into your home, not waiting for one day, and highlighting how
the uniqueness in each of us strengthens all of us.
Take a deep breath in and let's start a brand new day. With Mama says namaste.
Money. Everybody likes to talk about money, right?
Oh my goodness.
When it's good.
Or when it's bad. I mean, obviously money is a big part of our culture and what runs everything. And a lot of people have a very much of a love-hate relationship. We can get lost in money and greed and corruption, and we can also recognize the reality of when we don't have money and we're stuck in survival mode, we're not working in our best way either.
Yeah. The decisions we make may be a little different.
Right. So we're back with another book review, and we wanted to give you our top recommendation for a book for you to go through with your family. And in our unschooling model, we use this. Basically, this is our economics class. This was us learning about financial literacy as a family. And we've referenced before, we've done another podcast episode that was on cash flow and building financial literacy. You'll find a common theme, considering it's the same author for that book as it is the game that we played. So we wanted to dig into it, and I wrote a full blog post, and I really shared a lot of my opinion about the book and kind of giving an overview of the ideas of the book. And so I'm going to just spend a few minutes just kind of debriefing on the podcast, but what we really wanted to dive into on the podcast is those 10 steps to financial genius that he talks about.
Yes.
And us kind of digesting that. So, first and foremost, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Is the book.
We
are discussing Rich Dad, Poor Dad by
Robert Kiyosaki.
Robert Kiyosaki, who, he has been, and this is an older book. This book was written back in like
1997.
97, 96, yeah. And I read this book back in the early 2000s was when I read this book. And then I talked about it with you, and we had played this game, Cash Flow. And, I think that, I guess where I'll start here is everybody has I think it's important to recognize that everybody has wisdom inside of them, no matter who they are. And so you may not agree with everything that somebody says, but there's still wisdom there.
That's your nice way of saying that I am not a huge fan of Robert Kiyosaki. I love the stuff that he teaches and the financial savviness and the way he pushes. I also have studied a lot about personality styles and how we can approach others and how we can best connect with others. And Robert has a personality style that I will say is a very high D personality style.
Now, we haven't read any of his recent books, and so maybe this is his tone has changed.
I think I've avoided the more current interviews because I am even less attracted to him.
Okay, well,
so to be quite honest, So my honest take is he's a high D personality, and with that personality is a little bit of a my way or the highway. This is the way things are going to be. And there's a desire for control and taking over and kind of, I'm in charge. And it is oftentimes when a high D is really in their element, they can be very task focused. oftentimes, sometimes to the detriment of the relationships and the people, because the task can be more important than the relationship. And that is the part that always rubs me the wrong way. When I see these things that are like, get rich and successful at the expense of others that have to, suffer through it or anything like that,
Yeah.
I get testy.
You don't like there to be a perceived victim.
Well, because I believe that money is an energy exchange.
Yeah.
And if I use money as an energy exchange, I can charge somebody for my coaching, and I'm not swindling them out of their money. I'm not taking, this isn't a win-lose scenario. They are asking for a service, for somebody to help them to see their blind spots, to help them move forward with what steps they want to do to create the life that they want. I can offer that, and in exchange, they can offer me another form of energy in the form of money. And so when I look at it like that, I'm looking at a win-win solution. And I'm looking how money is something that is one energy currency that we can use in order to keep the connections going and the collaboration going.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to advocate for that. So if you go to the blog and you read kind of my take, where I do get a little ticked off about Robert Kiyosaki, I do share in there a video on servant leadership. This was in our 48 Days Eagles community. One of our Eagles in there just did a video talking about servant leadership, and I watched the video, and the whole time I was going, "Oh my gosh, this is that S personality style." The majority of the population that are more supporters, that are looking at ways to be relational and collaborative, and you can effectively lead in a way that is. Servant leadership is not groveling at the feet or just being a martyr. Servant leadership is recognizing the relationships and recognizing the people that you're working with.
Well, and I guess to that same point, Robert approaches this book from a individual who's very comfortable taking a lot of risk. And so when you read this book, it may seem like this is scary. And you just flippantly bought a house and then sold it to somebody else and borrowed $3,000 from a buddy and floated the whole deal and made $15,000. Like that's cool, dude. Is this for everybody? And I think that's what's important to remember here is that you can kind of take some of these ideas and tailor them to your own comfort zone. We appreciate the ideas and the concepts that Robert brings into the semantics of that. We like to have a little more control. and I would encourage you to do the same thing with anything that you read. If you're trying something out, they obviously, some advice I got in real estate early on when I was selling was that somebody said, "Nathan, everybody's telling you all their secrets. The truth is that nobody actually does them. Nobody does the steps to achieve those goals. And so nobody believes that it's achievable. And so if you just follow the directions that people are laying out, you might be surprised what comes your way. And as you get comfortable and decide and realize, okay, here's how I want my life to flow and look like, you can tweak some of those levers, and it doesn't have to be so rigid, I guess I would say.
Right. And so we suggest reading this book with a grain of salt. And don't take risks you're not comfortable with and you're not educated on. And that is a big, big part of the book, is educating yourself.
Yes. And that's why we love this book, is because Robert Kiyosaki is somebody who believes in lifelong learning and being curious. And that is, in my mind, the most important juice that you can cultivate in your family and in your children is just to be curious and wondering why and learning about how things work. And so, yeah, that's one of the things I think that we really have in common with Robert is that lifelong perspective of learning.
Right. And so there's so much meat. I've got a lot of stuff written in the blog post, and I've got quotes from the book. And so I do encourage you to check it out and how we talk about what the difference is between being rich is and being wealthy. But one of the things that he says in that is about that financial intelligence. It's simply about having more options. It's recognizing that if the opportunities aren't coming in your way, like, what can you do to prepare? I mean, there's that, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. But if we're not prepared financially for what may happen, setback or opportunity, right, we're stuck in the mud. And so how can we educate ourselves? And in it, it's not a matter, again, of building up this finite nest egg of just having the the cash to cover you for your life. No, it's, can you be creative in solving financial problems? Do you understand how to innovate and create so that when there is a financial obstacle or opportunity, what can you do from there? And can you think of multiple outcomes? The more educated you are, where you see multiple outcomes, I mean, the more leveraged you are in being able to succeed in life.
Right. One of the things that I learned from some investor friends that tutored me, and some of the best advice that I ever got, was exactly that. Leverage your exits. Give yourself multiple ways to generate income, or to have an exit strategy where if the market changes, you're not stuck because you can only play one game.
Mm-hmm.
The more you diversify and look at these creative different ways of doing things, the more you might realize that, okay, there's a really safe and let's say vanilla way to build wealth, and that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's also this exciting and more thrilling way to produce wealth that may open up the door to a lifestyle that you never even thought was possible. I mean, I thought that my life was going to be clock in, clock out, get the 401k, and you get 2 weeks vacation with the family a year, and that's life.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my goodness, I could not imagine if I'd seen myself, my 20-year-old self, say, dude, guess what you're going to be doing? It's going to be hot, but you're going to like it.
Yes. By the way, side note, we are currently roasting in Panama City and Florida, Panama City Beach, Florida, and we are at our first of 5 months consecutively of volunteering with the Florida State Parks.
Yep.
And as we kind of jumped into this a little bit serendipitously and not quite planning wise, we weren't fully prepared for the heat, and it's really, really hot. So pardon the background noise of the fan. I'm sure it's going on this podcast episode, because this is not one where we could sacrifice having a little bit of air ventilation.
They'll never know.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Moving on.
You don't see the sweat on our faces on the picture.
No.
Okay, so what we are going to do now is we want to dive into the 10 steps to awaken your financial genius. And this will kind of cover a lot of the things that are the meat in the podcast, or in the book as well. So number 1 is the power of spirit. And that's finding a reason greater than reality. And what that means is, I mean, what do you really want and don't want? Like, what's your purpose for finding more money? If we don't have a drive for it, I mean, sometimes getting money equals hustle.
Well,
and it equals hard work. And if we don't really understand the why behind it, it's going to be a lot harder to be motivated for that.
Well, and also you will persevere when you have desire driving you. If you're just out there trying to make money, you won't really try hard. You won't push through the hard stuff. And that's what true wealth and true success means, because there's going to be challenging times. And so you've got to want it, and you have to have an internal desire and drive to move towards this goal that you have. You can't just be, well, whatever. Maybe I'll go left, right, straight, or center, Right.
So, I mean, my why for wealth, I want to be wealthy so that I can give and invest freely in others from a full cup.
Right.
That's my why. Because I know that in my desire to help and support others, if I'm constantly looking at whether I've got food on my own plate, I'm not able to do that. And so I'm driven toward being wealthy. And wealth meaning a person's ability to survive so many number of days forward. Or if you stopped working, how long would you be able to survive? So we're talking wealth meaning that can keep on going, that isn't finite. And my desire for that ongoing non-finite wealth or infinite wealth is because the more that it's flowing in, the more I can flow out and give to others. Right. And I have great aspirations for that. I've got big dreams for investing in people and not giving a hand out, but a hand up, and ways that we can, all thrive as we all grow and collaborate together. And so I can look at this whole book and I can find inspiration that's very different than the Robert Kiyosaki model, but these principles are so valuable.
Well, he's got a different why, and you do too. And that's the point, is we all need to find our own why. And as a family, having a family mission statement, something that centers yourself, can really help you decide that as a family, because the more that you're all invested in this, the more exciting, the more energy, and the more momentum you're going to put into building wealth as a family and learning how and teaching your children how money works. One of the biggest benefits that we've had is that we've just been very transparent with our children on our finances and what's going on, because they understand that we have to pay for this party. It doesn't just happen for free, and it's not a free ride. And so if we don't have our investments creating a situation that is ideal for us, then we can't do this. Let things change.
And let me put a caveat around that. That does not mean you're putting the burden of we can't afford this on our children.
Oh, no. It's how can.
And there are parents there are children that carry a much heavier weight than you realize. I mean, we've had to watch that with our kids, where we say, hey, we're going to watch our budget this month. And then I have a kid that says, oh, wait, I can't go do this thing because we can't afford it. And I go, well, wait a second. That's not what we said. What we said is we were going to watch our budget. And so is this worth our investment right now?
Right.
That's a huge shift in mindset. And that's a different weight. We're giving our children the weight of responsibility and impact. Mm-hmm. We are not giving our children the weight of worry and fear on where our money is coming from. Exactly. Amen. All right. Number 2. All right. These are all, again, I see that high D. It's all the power of. These are power statements.
Oh, come on.
Such a high
Let
D
it go. Move on.
Okay. So number 2, the power of choice. Make daily choices. This is a biggie. If you want financial success, you've got to think about your daily choice today. I mean, it's the whole, the cliche statement of how, your Starbucks cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Is that $5 a day worth it? And so where are those little things going? If you are trying to build up that nest egg, how many frivolous little purchases did you do? How many times do you get stopped at the Target dollar aisle? Or like me, be guilty of spending frugally by going to Dollar General, but spend $50 on things that weren't necessary. How many little daily choices are potentially building up a big dam to your financial success?
Well, and that kind of echoes back into Dave Ramsey's model of baby steps when you're trying to get out of debt. You need to be aware of where your money is flowing.
Yeah.
And take control of your budget. And so if you do not know or you don't have control, then, giving yourself a budget and playing in that world can really give yourself some training wheels to start moving forward and show your children what they're going to have to do, when they're adults.
Right. And little things count. I mean, we pay attention to the small things. We were just talking today on whether we needed to keep our Netflix account. Well, clearly it's not breaking the bank for us to have a Netflix account. But if we're not utilizing it, and that's $16 a month going out the window, is that necessary? If I add that and I add, Disney Plus, and we haven't watched either one of those in months, then I've got right there, I'm looking at, that's $30 a month times 12 for a year. That's some savings that we can do. And if I look at it as just, a few hundred in the bank account, that might not be one thing. But if I look at it as that was the few hundred that becomes the big trip that we get to do, or the event that we get to do,
Right.
We get to go to we're going to go to the Elephant Rescue Sanctuary in August. And it's, a $300 or $250 big excursion. Well, so 2 months without, a stretch without some movies, and now we've got that money in another thing. So it's just reprioritizing our money. It's not saying we can't afford something, we've got to shut everything down, we got to, cut every subscription. No. Where do you want your money to go? Is it working toward what the goals that you have and what you want to create? Yeah.
Sometimes we're bought or we buy into this idea that stuff is going to make us happier, and places, vacations are going to make us happier, and that's not always the case. Trying some new things and just trying to pull some games out, and instead of doing movie night, you do game night, and you just shift some stuff for a while, for a month or two, and just see if you like it. And then if you want to go back to binging the whatever you like to watch, go right back. But I saw a funny meme that made me kind of proud. It said, if you have gone this far and never even watched Game of Thrones, you are one of the few people who will not fall to peer pressure, because it's,
oh my gosh,
and we have who cares? I'm no clue.
That's so true. We have never watched Game of Thrones, and quite honestly, I don't even know that much about it.
I
don't know
zero
anything
knowledge.
about it.
I could have zero conversation with you about Game of Thrones, but that
But you want to talk financial literacy? Let's talk.
Let's talk that. and freedom.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. All right. Number 3 is the power of association. Choose your friends carefully. My dad has used the same saying forever. Jim Rohn says you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Who are those people? Are they people that are highly driven? Are they financially responsible? Or are they victims? Are they moochers? Are they, always seeing the negative? Are they feeling trapped and stuck?
But they're my buds, man. They're my buds.
You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and this is reflected time and time and time again.
Yeah.
It's natural behavior. We have a tendency to do that. And I mean, we like to be the positivity rub off. We like to try to shift negative environments, and we do it a lot. And we are in those situations a lot with our opportunities with volunteering, for example, where we can be around a whole lot of negativity. And we really do draw boundaries around that. We focus on how our approach is with them, and then we look for how we will recharge in a place that really does feed us well. It doesn't mean we eliminate everybody who is not a super light in your life. That's not possible, and we all have those few people that are just always going to be there that we got to navigate.
That's all right.
That's okay. Just determine how much time you spend in both. What is your recharge? So look for those positive associations, those friends that inspire you, encourage you, challenge you, and you're meeting at more of a peer level versus feeling like you're dragging them along.
And if you feel kind of stuck, sometimes just going out and exploring something that you're curious in and going to a meeting or going to a conference will allow you to meet new people that kind of fill that and have those similar interests that, maybe you've kind of outgrown your friends in some ways, but you just sort of loyal and you're hanging on for, for old time's sake. Doesn't mean you have to let go of those people forever, but you can have new friends that open your, and support this new side of you that you're exploring.
Right.
And, that's something that's important to remember, that, that momentum, that action, going out and being curious and trying something will bring these people into your life that will certainly be, what you're probably looking for.
Well, and that's I've talked before about my other role that I do, not just in family coaching, is relationship coaching in business. And I do that in my dad's company, 48 Days. And we have the 48 Days Eagles. I mean, this is a community for people that want to activate their dreams. And it's people that have a dream. Maybe their dream is to build a business or to start a side business. Maybe their dream is to go travel or to reconnect with their family. And our goal in this membership community is to encourage and inspire these people to activate their dreams. We are creating that support system for some people that don't have it around them. And we're offering that. And we recognize that we don't want it just online. So we're having a big live event in Sarasota in August of next year. And of this year, in less than a month. We're going to be having a live event in Sarasota for the sake of bringing all of these people together to form community, to form those deeper connections so that they do have more of those friends on that good friend list. So look for opportunities like that. It may be through a business connection that you find people with the purpose and the drive that gets you going, that gets you excited. It may be that's an online platform. It may be that, it's just finding a different group to hang out with for a bit. It doesn't mean ending everybody or, boycotting anybody who isn't positive in your life. It just means outweighing the positive for the negative.
Just mix something else in there.
All right, the next one is the power of learning quickly. Master a formula and then learn a new one. A growth mindset is lifelong. So if your learning is finite, expect your bank account to be that way as well.
There you go.
Quick and easy. All right, number 5, the power of self-discipline. Pay yourself first.
This is a hard one because if you are kind of have that helper's heart, you don't want to pay yourself first. You want to make sure everybody's taken care of, and then you'll scoop in whatever's left. And that mindset is not a wealthy mindset. And that's one of those things is, you have to challenge. You start looking at, okay, how do I take care of myself first? And I started to realize, I read this book, and I didn't really understand that step until I was selling real estate, and I realized how important it was for me to take care of my energy and take care of myself, because if I wasn't functioning, then in my
Then
mind,
everybody suffered.
Then everybody suffered, right? And so, in the same way, it's important to pay yourself and make sure that you're taken care of financially.
Right.
On the front end.
Right.
And then you pay those other creditors and those bills.
Exactly. It's my desire for wealth so that I can give from a full cup.
Right.
All right. 6 is the power of good advice. And it says pay your brokers well. Now, Kiyosaki is talking a lot about he deals with advisors and investment advisors and everything with the investments that he has. But I can say, pay your mentors well. Pay your, not even your mentors, pay your coaches, your counselors, your therapists, whatever you need that is helping you to get to the next step. Be willing to invest in yourself and look for those opportunities to do the blind spots. You're only going to go so far by yourself because you only know what you know. Right. You can't really hit those things that you're not. And so getting that feedback from others is really valuable. And we definitely believe in investing in that. When you invest in yourself, that's one of the best investments that you can make. The power of your mind is the greatest investment you can ever get into.
The best money I've ever spent is on guidance to help me achieve my dreams. And so I've never been disappointed in the money that I've spent there.
All right, so number 7 is not, I don't really care for the way he framed it at all, but it's the power of getting something for nothing. And he says be an Indian giver. And he does share in there where actually the whole idea of the Indian giver, like that concept of somebody giving somebody and taking it back, first off, it was all laced in miscommunication. I mean, it was Native Americans that were warming helped somebody out and just helping them for the moment. And the assumption was, oh, that's mine. Heh. Wonderful American way of just taking. And so what he's talking about there, though, is recognizing that you can be strategic in how you invest or how you share your things to look at what's the return on investment. And what he's saying is be smart about investing in things that will give back to you in the long run. So, you going out and just because it's a great deal, you buy a house with and you have a 10% return on investment. Well, is that really a good deal? Probably not. But if you go and you see a great deal and it's a great return on investment where you're going to be getting some cash flow in, then it's worth it. So it's saying that principle is being strategic in what you're investing in. What's the long-term play? Is this just like short-term fun? Is this a luxury, expense? Or is this something that's going to be a long-term play that overall your ROI, your return on investment is even greater?
Yeah.
All right, number 8 is the power of focus, using assets to buy luxuries.
And, this is kind of the idea of if you're going to have luxury items, then float those through business models. Robert Kiyosaki is a big proponent of starting your own business, having some kind of corporation or something like that you can float these things through. So when you buy luxury items, you're not buying them as an individual. They're being used through the company. Now, this is something that I don't have a whole lot of interest in. There's a wonderful game that we all play with our tax attorneys on how we can make sure that we pay the least amount. And I think we all have to kind of pay our own amount. That's your personal choice on how you handle that and how you approach your taxes. What Robert Kiyosaki is talking about here, though, is just the smartest way to avoid paying those taxes and allowing your business to pay those taxes that doesn't have to pay anything on that luxury item until at the end of the year or whatever they've justified it to be. You're kind of playing your game a little bit there. And
this is where, again, I don't get excited about just trying to figure out how I can, get every last drip.
But the game is there.
Anything.
The game is there to play. I mean, when you play, let's switch it and we play Wingspan. You want to get every single point you can, every drip possible, right? And so it's the same. That's what Robert is trying to bring up, is that you have to understand that if you are working as a job with a W-2, the government is taking all of its money out of your paycheck before you ever get your hands on it. And what he's trying to help you understand, and something I didn't really understand until I read this book, was that if you were to take assets and make or a business and make money with that, you can leverage that business so that your life can have things that you never really imagined.
And where I kind of was taking it even beyond that is, first off, just kind of a definition of what is an asset. So our assets are, a business that doesn't require your presence. So maybe you own them, but it's not requiring you as a day-to-day component of it. If you're working in your business, then it's not an asset necessarily to the same level.
Well, it's thinking of your house. Your house that you own. If you're just paying a mortgage and you're paying that mortgage to live in that home, while it feels like an asset, it's actually a liability. Because if you stop working and you stop paying that bank, the bank's not going to let you live in your home anymore.
Right.
It's
and if
not
you
really
need the
your
money
home.
from that asset, you have to sell it, which means you're homeless or you're spending that money.
Right.
So it's not necessarily an asset in that scenario. So we talked a lot with our kids about this, the differences between assets and liabilities, and how something like a house could be both, depending on how you use it.
Right.
Other assets can be stocks and bonds. It can be income generating real estate, doing other forms of real estate. It can be notes and IOUs. It can be royalties, like if you have music or scripts or patents. And then anything else that has value, produces income, or appreciates and has a ready market. And so I'm thinking even along the lines of like when you're doing online, in the online world, we have affiliate marketing. We have our nurture sequences that do our sales for us. We have our ebooks and our digital products and our things like that, where we can make what we say are Swiss dollars, sales while sleeping soundly. And so when I'm looking at this, what I'm looking at is if I want to get a luxury, if I want to go out and I want to do something fun, or actually what I say is sometimes, let's say I'm hustling and building a business, and my first luxury would be to have a virtual assistant that could help me. And I want a virtual assistant, because although it's not just a luxury, but it's something that at this point I'm just, I'm doing it all on my own, and it would be such a great thing. Well, the first thing I'm going to look at is what assets are coming in. When I have cash flow coming in, and when I see, okay, I've got some consistent income coming in from my business, then I'm willing to then invest in my virtual assistant and add them. So I'm looking at where this money is coming in. When right now we've talked with the girls, we're looking at renting our house out for more travels. That's part of the deal, is that we have plans for if we're getting our house rented out, this is what it's going to look like. But we're not making big travel plans to go do a trip all across the country and leave an empty house.
Right.
We are very much looking at what's coming in before we're doing any kind of spending going out.
Exactly. You want to know how you're going to pay for your party.
Number 9 is the power of myth. Choose heroes. These are the big mentors out there. The heroes that you say, oh, I want something like that. I love what they're doing there. Again, this is not people that are perfect. All of them will have their things that you may not agree with.
Right.
We're saying this is one aspect that I love. I love how they've chosen to do business. I love how these people are with their family. I love how this person was able to travel. Whatever that is, what's your inspiration? Because that oftentimes that's your proof of concept. That's your validity. Oh, it can happen because this person's done it. So who are those people that you can look up to? And again, I challenge you to look at certain traits of these people, not overall. We're not looking for the one person that's awesome.
But it just gives you a direction to start running. A signpost to head towards.
Right. And then the 10th one is the power of giving. Teach and you shall receive. And that is, you can give a man a fish and feed him for a day. You can teach a man to fish and feed him for a lifetime. And how can you give in a way that ends up, so much more beneficial.
Right.
And as we share and as we, share our insights with others, then, we all are able to then elevate from it.
Right. And that's once you start to understand the function of money in your life and how and what the definition of wealth is in your life, you can start to look at how you want to give back and add value to the world through those investments. We've looked at buying homes so that we can just use the income from those homes to invest in other people, and so it kind of changes the way you start looking and cooking up ideas for your life and how it can be, rather than this kind of boilerplate that we're all given in elementary school.
Right. Okay, so I'm going to go through this list again really quick here. Number 1, find a reason greater than reality. the power of spirit. Number 2, make daily choices, the power of choice. Number 3, choose friends carefully, the power of association. 4, master a formula and then learn a new one, the power of learning quickly. 5, pay yourself first, the power of self-discipline. 6, pay your brokers or your coaches well, the power of good advice. 7, be an Indian giver. Let's learn about ROI, the power of good advice. 8, use assets to buy luxuries, the power of focus. 9, choose heroes, the power of myth. And 10, teach and you shall receive, the power of giving. So our challenge to you is, of course, check out Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Read it. Yeah, it's an easy, quick read.
It is. And there are some great actual graphs in it where it shows income and expense and asset and liability. And it shows the arrows on how you can do it in kind of the poor dad type of concept and the rich dad concept. And quick note on that, I did explain it in the blog post, but Rich Dad, Poor Dad was actually Robert Kiyosaki's real father, who was highly educated, very successful in work and everything that he did, but lots of degrees and credentials. And then it was his best friend's dad who didn't have more than a 8th grade education, yet also was highly successful in everything. And basically what we had is a poor dad mentality of I can't afford it. And he was constantly chasing after the bills and feeling like he was in debt with his biological dad. And his friend's dad, who didn't have all the credentials and degrees and was very risky with what he did, was actually way more successful and wealthy in life with a lot more abundance because of the way he approached things. And so that's where Robert was going toward that rich dad philosophy. And he expresses the value that he found with both fathers in different elements.
Exactly.
All right, so read the book and get serious about learning what is an asset over a liability and take inventory of that. I mean, how many liabilities do you have in your life? And how many expenses do you have in your life versus how many assets and cash flow you have going? And then the biggie for us and the biggest shift for us was shifting from can I afford this to is this a worthwhile investment? Just like I talked about when I was correcting my daughter earlier today. It's not whether or not we can afford to go to the jump pad. It's do we want to go to the jump pad or do we want to spend that money to go to the caverns later? Like we just can make a decision on that, on where we want to choose to invest our money. And with that, having those conversations with our kids, not out of fear, not out of scarcity, not out of we can't do this, but out of how do we want to create and how do we want to use our money and our impact.
Exactly. Because money is an energy, and helping your kids understand that, how to flow that energy into their life and how to let it flow out, and at what intervals and when is a great tool to help them. And
they're going to have their own questions. They're going to have their own perspectives on how to see it, and you may learn something valuable from them. We don't ever discount who our teacher is going to be. We believe the world is our school and everyone is our teacher, right along with our kids. So we have conversations together, and our children have come up with great ideas for us on saving money and on making money. And it's been very fun to have those conversations with us.
Absolutely.
Your family is one of the best investments you will ever make in this life. Focus in on your family and celebrate how the uniqueness in each of us strengthens all of us. Namaste.
1, 2, 3. Up with the rising sun, already on the run. Mama says namaste. Life is a tangled mess, and you don't have to stress. Mama says namaste. 'Cause today I will stand up and be all the change that I want to see in this world. Boys and girls, you gotta have to stand up to be free. Namaste in your heart. Take a deep breath in and let's start a brand new day. With Mama says namaste.